Ladies and gentlemen, jogging clears the menda unless you're running for your life. Story 1. A woman jogs past a cornfield nightly. One evening, rustling. She turns at nothing. The next morning, police find drag marks into the field. Story 2. A man hears footsteps behind him, perfectly timed with his. He stops. They stop. He turns. No one. Yet his phone captures a blurry face right behind him. Story 3. A girl jogs with music in. She trips, looks up as someone's staring, but when she blinks, gone. Stay alert. Darkness doesn't jog alone. Jogging is one of those activities that seems almost sacred in its simplicity. It's a moment carved out of a hectic day, a breath of fresh air in a world constantly pressing in. People jog to clear their minds, to connect with their bodies, to escape the rush and chaos of life. There's a rhythm to it, a soothing, almost meditative repetition that allows thoughts to flow and stress to melt away. The regular beat of your shoes on pavement, the cool wind brushing past your skin, the quiet that fills the early mornings or dusky evenings. It's peaceful, even serene. But peace, as we all know, is fragile, and familiarity, no matter how comforting, can quickly mask the presence of something far more sinister. You lace up your shoes and step out into the fading light, confident in your route, confident in the safety of your neighborhood or trail. You've run it 100 times. You know every bend, every tree, every flickering streetlight. But what you don't know is that something is different tonight. Not something loud or obvious, just a small shift, a missing sound, a new shadow, a sensation that you're not quite as alone as you were last time. At first, you might brush it off. Your irrational brain steps in, soothing your sudden chill with logic. It's just the wind, just your imagination. But it keeps happening. Every time you pass that alley, that thick row of trees, that bridge over the dry creek, you feel it. Something wrong, something watching. There are countless reports, real stories from real people, of joggers experiencing the unexplainable. Some starts like a woman who jogs the same path every night through a suburban neighborhood. She waves at the same people, sees the same porch lights flicker on. But one night, she notices a man she doesn't recognize standing by a mailbox. He doesn't wave, he doesn't smile, he just watches. And the next night, he's standing farther down the street, still watching. Eventually, he's standing right on her path, and the look in his eyes tells her everything she needs to know. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't harmless. And suddenly, her safe routine feels like a trap she's willingly walked into. Another runner, a man who preferred jogging late at night to clear his mind after work, tells a different story. He was used to the quiet streets, the dim orange glow of streetlights, the solitude. But he began to notice footsteps behind him. At first, they mimicked his exactly. When he sped up, they did too. When he stopped, they stopped. But whenever he turned around, there was no one there. He even crossed the street a few times, ducked into side roads, trying to catch whoever was following him. Still nothing. One night, curious and unnerved, he recorded a voice memo during his jog. When he listened to it later, he heard something chilling his own breathing, his steps, and then, unmistakably, a second set of breaths, closer than he thought. The darkness plays tricks, but not all of them are imagined. A jogger running near a wooded park reported hearing whispers as she passed under a cluster of trees. She thought it was kids playing nearby, maybe someone with a speaker or a radio. But every time she came back to that stretch, the voices were there, always whispering, never loud enough to understand. One evening, determined to figure it out, she stopped in that spot. There was no one around, not a soul, not even a house within earshot. She stopped running that route soon after, but the memory stayed with her. Then there are stories that go even deeper. A man jogging through a rural trail at dusk swore he saw someone dart between the trees. A figure, human in shape but too fast, too fluid. He sped up, trying to get past the woods, but the figure kept pace in the trees. He could hear it now, leaves crunching, branches snapping. He burst into the open field and turned to look. Nothing. The trail behind him was empty. And yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed him out, even if it no longer needed to be seen. Some horror doesn't need monsters or ghosts. Sometimes, it's people. Real ones. with real intent. A runner passing through a tunnel in an urban park began to feel uneasy after he noticed graffiti changing each week. At first, it was typical tags, then it became words and disturbing phrases like "you'll never leave" or "run faster." He thought it was just edgy vandalism. But then he saw one that said, "black hoodie, red shoes." His exact outfit. He hadn't told anyone he was running that day. He hadn't posted about it. Someone had seen him. Up close, someone was watching. The graffiti didn't stop. Neither did the descriptions. It's stories like these that remind us how thin the line is between comfort and danger. We like to believe that routine protects us, say that if we stick to what we know, nothing can go wrong. But horror thrives in the familiar. It waits in the places we trust, wearing the mask of routine, hiding in plain sight. When you jog the same path every day, you begin to tune things out. The noises, the shadows, the slight changes. You become predictable. And if something or someone is waiting, it knows where you'll be. Many joggers talk about a sixth sense that kicks in when something is wrong. A gut feeling, a chill at the back of the neck, a sudden urge to turn around. It's easy to ignore that instinct, to write it off as paranoia. But again and again, survivors of close calls say the same thing. They knew. They just knew. Something wasn't right. Something was watching. And when they listened to that feeling, when they ran faster or changed the route or called someone, it made the difference. It's not about being afraid of the dark or imagining things that aren't there. It's about the simple truth that danger doesn't always arrive with a warning. It can creep in slowly, subtly, until your peaceful jog becomes a scene from a nightmare. The rustle in the bushes, the light that flickers too long, the feeling that you're being mirrored, the safety you once felt on that trail, that sidewalk, that hill up. It can be shattered in a second. What was once a sanctuary becomes a trap. And the worst part is, you might not even realize it until it's too late. Trust is a delicate thing, especially when it comes to the senses we often ignore. In the daylight, it's easy to brush off a strange sound, to dismiss a shadow as a trick of the light. We rely on logic to guide us, to silence those old survival instincts that once kept us alive when threats lurked in every forest and shadow. But those instincts never disappeared. They're still there, whispering in the back of our minds, urging us to look again, to listen more carefully, to run when something deep inside us says it's time. We live in a world where we're told to be rational, to be calm, to not overreact. But what if overreacting is the very thing that saves us? There's something unsettling about being followed, especially when you can't prove it. A jogger might hear footsteps echoing theirs, perfectly matched in tempo. They stop, the steps stop, they start again. So do the footsteps. They turn around and find nothing but empty sidewalk or dim trees. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just sound bouncing off buildings, or an animal in the bushes. But that feeling is the one that makes their chest tighten and their hands go cold. That's the body knowing something the mind hasn't accepted yet. It's the instinct trying to speak. There's a story of a woman who always ran at twilight through a quiet park, the same path every day, the same familiar trees, benches, and turns. She began to notice small things. A bird that used to be there was gone. The wind sounded different, heavier. The scent of the trees seemed off. Then one night, she felt a presence behind her. No footsteps, no voice, just the heavy weight of being watched. She didn't look back. She didn't run faster. She trusted her instincts. She cut through a shortcut that led straight back to a busy street. Later, she found out that another runner had vanished along that same trail. No signs, no clues, just gone. If she had ignored that feeling, she might have joined the list of names that filled the unsolved pages. Danger doesn't always come screaming. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or drama. Sometimes, it slips in beside you. It mirrors your steps. It waits. There's something uniquely chilling about the subtlety of real horror. A figure half hidden behind a tree that's suddenly not there when you glance again. A light in a house that turns off the second you pass. The sound of something brushing the leaves just a little too close to the trail. And when you look, it's already gone. It's easy to write these off, to tell yourself that the world is full of random noise, that coincidence is not the same as danger. But there's a part of you buried under years of rational thinking that knows better. Instinct is a survival tool that we've learned to quiet. We tell ourselves we're safe, that nothing bad happens here, that it's just nerves or imagination. But imagination doesn't make your skin crawl. It doesn't make the hair on your arms rise. That's biology, pure and simple, honed by generations before us who didn't have the luxury of streetlights and phones and safety apps. They had to listen. They had to move when the forest went silent, when the birds stopped chirping, when the wind felt like it was carrying a warning. And maybe, just maybe, that same ancient warning is what creeps up your spine when the jog that felt peaceful suddenly feels wrong. Sometimes it's not about what you see, it's what you don't see. The shape that should be there but isn't. The jogger who passed you every Tuesday who now hasn't been there for 3 weeks. The light in the window that always flickered at 6 p.m. suddenly dark. Absence is just as loud as presence when it comes to instinct. You notice the patterns before your mind puts it together. Something isn't right. You can't say what, but every fiber of your being is trying to get your attention. One man recounted jogging through a trail that ran along the edge of a dense forest. He liked the solitude. He liked the silence. Until, one night, that silence became too deep. No crickets, no wind, no rustle of leaves, just a hollow quiet. He felt like he was in a vacuum. The trees pressed in closer than usual. The shadows were darker. He turned around. Nothing. He picked up the pace. Still nothing. But his heart wouldn't stop pounding. When he made it home, he couldn't explain it, even to himself. But he never took that trail again. Weeks later, police found evidence of someone living in that stretch of forest. Not a camper, not a hiker, just someone hiding. Trust isn't just about others, it's about trusting yourself. Your gut is smarter than you give it credit for. It sees the way a stranger glances at you too long from across the road. It hears the shift in footsteps behind you when you're supposed to be alone. It feels the difference between solitude and stalking. There's a reason animals freeze before a predator shows itself. They don't wait for proof, they react to sensation. We used to be that way, too. And maybe we still are. When we're alone on a dark trail, and suddenly the peace we came for has vanished. For many runners, music is a must-have. Earbuds in, volume up, the world fades away. But what also fades away are the cues of the footsteps, the snapping twigs, the warning sounds. That comfort comes with a cost. You become unaware, numb to the very environment you're in. And when something breaks that barrier, like a hand brushing your shoulder, a sudden figure in your periphery, it's already too late. Listening to the world around you isn't just about nature or noise. It's about staying connected to reality, to the hints that tell you something is coming. Every second of hesitation counts when something feels off. The decision to turn down a different road, to stop and pretend to tie your shoe, to pull out your phone and call someone. It's small, but small things save lives. The stories that end with survival often begin with a moment of uncertainty met with action, and that action starts by believing that your instincts might be right, that you're not paranoid, that the feeling in your chest, the prickle in your skin, the sudden urge to flee all mean something, that you don't need proof to take yourself seriously.